So I'm Steve Pickett. So Paul Cummings, I've known him all of 3 to 4 months now. Long time, right? We have a mutual friend that wanted to set up a meeting between Paul and I really did not want to come. I was just too busy with everything going on, but he convinced me to come. So reluctantly, I met with Paul about 4 months ago, and I am so glad I did. Like the first 10 minutes of meeting with Paul, I was just like, who is this guy? Like, where did he come from? And he was telling me his story, and there's a few things that impressed me. Number one, which most of you know, is his success in business, in leadership training, and all that he accomplished there. I mean, doing seminars all around the world, writing books, just investing himself in other people's lives to help them improve and develop as individuals and in their career field and so forth. He's got lots of accolades that you guys probably know about. He's got testimonials. For crying out loud, he's got a testimonial from Kathy Ireland. Now, that's pretty impressive. For you guys who don't know who Kathy Ireland is, well, that's on you, but that's impressive. So that you all know, that he's been successful in that field. The most impressive thing, though, was as I was listening to him, I was kind of hearing from his heart as he was talking about his passions and desires. A lot of that revolved around his family and his friends and all the people close to him, right? And so it really kind of touched me that a guy that's this renowned and this successful really cared and had a desire to help those around him, who selflessly was giving of himself, his time, and his resources to help those around him, reach their goals, pursue their dreams. So I was really impressed, and when I was driving home, I was thinking, what was the most impressive thing about him? And it was his heart. Like, when you think about it, his heart drives him to help us as business owners to develop, and his heart was there for his family and friends to give to them, to give them opportunities that they may not have. So I was really impressed with that, and I think that's his biggest success, is who he is as a man and his heart. And for that reason, Paul, I am blessed to say and call you friend. So you guys just put your hands together and welcome Mr. Paul Cummings.
Thank you very much, Steve. Okay, so funny thing happened on the way to the speech. I had a massive stroke, and 7 years ago, and I woke up and could not say a word. Could not write, could not read. And my kids were standing in the hospital and listening to a neurologist talk about me as if I wasn't there. I was sitting in the bed with a pen in my mouth, but I could understand everything that was being said. Chris, was taking the lead, asking all the questions like Chris Cummings does. And then he turned to my son. He said, you have to find some place to put your dad. Think about that. You have to find some place to put your dad. And then he turned to my daughter, Lauren, and said, does he have a place to live? And my daughter said, which one? He has places all over the world. But one bedroom, walk-in shower, because never going to talk again. Never going to read again. Never going to write again. Think about that. A guy that I hadn't met, that went to med school, walked in the room and tried to steal my hope. So being the good steward of my throwing ability, I took my pen out of my mouth and threw it at the doctor's head. He ducked, My son, Chris, said, I think he wants you to leave. And then I grabbed IVs on both arms, pulled it out, walked down the hall as flapping in the wind, and got on the elevator dripping, because I have on blood thinners, dripping all the way down to the elevator, and sat down in the lobby. And they tried to surround me. You can't leave. Mr. Cummings, you have to go back upstairs. So my son called a different ambulance and got me transported to a different hospital. The reason I'll tell you that story, if something happens in your life, if something tragic happens in your life, if something unexpected happens in your life, if something goes wrong that you just couldn't think about going wrong in your life, at the worst time, you can recover. You can do anything that you want to do as long as you have faith and belief in yourself and faith in God and look up and let go and let God and trust. So Ryan asked me to say a little bit of how this journey started. A lot of people have said a lot of things about me, good and bad. If you're not talked about, you probably hadn't done anything in your life. So I would rather be talked about than forgotten. Think about that. If nobody's mentioned you, you're forgotten. So I started my career as a 25-year-old with a space in my teeth. I had to wait to have some money to buy some teeth. Let's laugh. It's funny. And so I'm telling you could drive a Mack truck to my teeth when I started. The pictures, it's awful. Anyway, and I said, I am going to teach seminars. I didn't know how. I didn't know why. I didn't know anything about anything, but I could sell a lot. So I acquired a little bit of money before I started my company. I was a millionaire in sales at 25 years old. And I sold real estate, insurance, cars, a lot. I'd resigned, opened my company. It was called Pop Inc. Power of People Inc. Power of People Inc. And I said, called my dad. I said, I resigned all my job. I said, boy, what are you thinking about? You don't have a college education. I told you should have stayed in school. Listen, I'm going to teach seminars. What are you going to talk about? I have no idea, but I'm going to do it. You had a course on your cabinet. Harold Glass from Little Rock, Arkansas, worked for the Nightingale Conant Corporation. Do you have the guy's number? He said, yes, I do. Can I have Harold's number? Can I call him first and tell him my son is crazy before you call him? I said, you can do anything you want to. He gave me the number, and I got my mother on the phone. My mother is South Louisiana French to the core. Beautiful. And I said, Dad, how did you convince Mom to marry you? I just stood behind her and watched her walk all day long. Quite a sight. And I said, Daddy, how did you get Mama to marry you? I said, you're right, baby, all the time. You're right. You're right. Happy wife, happy life. You're right. So I got it. And so I got my mom on the same. I said, Mom, I resigned my job. I'm going to open a similar company called Pop Inc. Hey, how much you going to charge? I said, I don't know. I think I'm going to charge $30. And she said, charge by the word. You never shut up. The difference in attitude. And my mom was my biggest cheerleader from day one. Day one. So I called Harold Gash. And I said, Harold, can I come see you? And he said, yes. So I drove to Little Rock, Arkansas, right by Conway, up from Morton. And my grandfather was raised on Beaver Fork, little town outside of Conway. And I drove up to see Harold Gash, and I said, how do you properly run a seminar business? He said, well, you got to decide what you're going to talk about. I said, I'm a world-class salesman. I really believe that. The only person that could tell me no was the one I hadn't talked to yet. I'm just being serious. I love to sell. I love to sell by serving, not by selling. If you outserve everybody, you'll have to outsell anybody. Service is the magic ingredient when you give away freely. And so I sat down. I said, how do I do it? And he said, well, you have to come up with a course, and you have to go knock on doors to businesses and decide what your expertise is. So I went and wrote a course called Winning Through Excellence at Sales. Took me about 2 days to write it. And I should have asked him what I needed to charge. Another story for another day. And I went out. I'm focused on car business. I was in the car business. I knew that lingo. I went and focused on real estate. Went and focused on insurance. And I knocked and I knocked and I was wearing those people out, and they wouldn't give me a meeting. They wouldn't let me speak at their group. Finally, I sold 2 tickets for $60. I was so proud. It took me 6 weeks to tell 91 tickets. Do the math. 91 times 30, $2,730. The hotel room cost $1,100. 6 weeks. The food, I fed everybody. Bad idea, but I fed everybody. $20 a meal, not times 91, $1,820. Hotel, $1,100. You can see the math is not working in my favor. I printed the notebooks so I can hand it out. When the seminar was over, my wife, Barb, was standing in the back, and she was standing in the back, so I would focus, and she would run this way. Look left, look right, because I tend to talk this side of the room. She'd get my attention. She was pretty, by the way. Man, she died of MS, but... And we got through with the seminar. I sat down. I said, we did it. We did it. We actually did it. So I called Harold Gass and said, man, 91 tickets in 5 weeks. You sold 91 tickets in 5 weeks? Yes, I did. How long was the seminar? 3 hours. So you sold 91 tickets in 5 weeks. Why aren't you more excited? I said, I lost $387. He said, you didn't lose anything if you don't write anything else. He said the following to me. Add a 0. $30, right? Add a 0. Go out and charge $300. You'll find it easier to get $300 than $30, because how bad would you have to be to charge $30 for a seminar? So they were running me off because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I went to New Orleans and sold 485 tickets for $300 a piece. I ran into a good guy on a bunch of dealerships in New Orleans named Tom Benson. He also owns the Saints. Tom and I became very good friends. And he said, my story is very similar to yours. I said, what's your story like? I was the valet and the cleanup guy in a dealership in a service department. And every time the dealer came in, he's wearing nice suit, nice tie, nice shoes. He would get out of his car and throw the keys to me. Make sure it's clean before you leave. I wrote down, I want that job. I want that job. But if I get that job, I'm going to be nicer to people than he is. That's how Tom Benson started. He's a multi-billionaire, by the way. So he said, by the way, when you finish this seminar, I have a group of stores in San Antonio. I'm president of the San Antonio Automobile Dealers Association. How about I'll sell all the tickets for you? You just show up. Things are looking good. I had chill bumps on my chill bumps. I walked out that door. The check was so huge. I'd never seen a check like that. I parked my car around the corner because I don't know if you know it. Until you get really rich, you should buy the least amount of car you can stand to be seen in, the most amount of real estate you can afford. So I followed that rule. So I parked around the corner in a beat-up Corolla, had headlights tied on the front that came off with leather, funny, and a hand antenna. So I went around the corner, opened that check up, and danced on the hood of my car like I couldn't wait to get back to Barbara. And I went to the hotel. I said, look, I said, go to the bank and cash it. I don't believe that is real. So we went to the bank and cashed it. I can't tell what we did with the money, but it was a lot of fun. And that night, again, changed my life. I think people should look for life-changing moments. People don't tend to really look at your life. So I met a wonderful couple here tonight. We were talking about storytelling. I didn't know they were coming, but I'm going to work with them. I already know that. I finally met a person tonight that's 19 years old, has stars in her eyes, worked for you. She's going to be a rocket. Like, boast off. I'm telling you, the smile. She looks you in the eye when she talks to you. That's all you can ask a person to do. I'm proud of you, by the way. And a guy came up to me and said, are you from Conway, Arkansas? I said, no, but my granddaddy sure is. And that's the book that I wrote about my granddaddy, Lessons at the Fence Post. That's the fence post that we have down there in the farm. We brought it up there to make it a part of the project. And when I grew up, went to Wildwood in the summers, I wanted this advice so bad. I'm 5 years old. Hey, Granny, can I ask you something? Meet me at the fence post at 5 a.m. If you're late, you're going to work all day. Think about that, the lesson. If you're late, you're going to work all day. Don't be late. So I went down there for the first time. I said, what's the secret to be so happy? And he said, life is a gift. It's not a game. Enthusiasm is an inside game with an outside reflection. Think about that. Entheos, spirit within God-like. What's inside comes out. Passion prevails when everything else fails, son. You know that old saying, if you lead the horse to water? He said, that's a damn lie. You salt their oats, they'll drink all day. You salt, so it took me years to figure out what that meant. When I started my company, I had a bunch of people working for me, and I called my granddaddy up. I said, when you said you salt their oats, must be stuck in a sales slump. How do you know that? I'm stuck in the sales slump. Incentivize your people. If you salt their oats, they'll drink all day. Don't keep it for you. Give it away. It'll come back to you over and over and over again. So we were just me and Barbara, and we were working the I-10 corridor between Houston and San Antonio and back up to Mobile. And then I hired my first person, and 3 years later, and we hired a second person, and 3 years later, I moved to Chattanooga and started my business here. I met John. He was my printer and worked at Kinko's. He came to work with me, and John, we can't tell our stories, but he described me like working for Paul Cummings is like working for a rock band. There was other thing he said I can't say. So anyway, he traveled with me nonstop, did my first videos, filmed 12,000 videos looking at me. We were the first one to put our content online. We sold 3 hours of content. I'm not bragging, just telling you the facts. To one client for $16 million. 3 hours of content. Think about that. But they had 12,800 offices. Do the math. It's only $180 an office, not much, till you add it up. Big number, huh? And then we just kept on going. We bought this place. And we had people visit from all over the place. 200,000 people came out here to attend this little thing I call God's country, hallowed ground. It was given to me to do what I do. And we traveled all over the world, 6 continents, 70 countries, spoke to 2.5 million people worldwide. Went from $300 to $3,500 a person. Went from a speaking fee that was $50 a day to $50,000 a day. We sold out Twickenham Stadium, Rugby Stadium in London, 80,000 people. We'd done some things, John and I. And we traveled all the world together. We had a life-changing moment when I first spoke at NADA in New Orleans. We were walking down the hall, and John said, well, we're here now. I said, man, I'm nervous. He said, break a leg. I said, okay. When that seminar was over, we knew our life would never be the same. They wouldn't stop cheering. They were on their feet and just didn't stop. We walked out of that seminar, and a guy named Trevor Jones came up to me. I said, Trevor Jones from England, will you come and speak to my group? I said, what kind of group? I control every automobile dealership in the state of all of London, Scotland, and Ireland, and I am in charge of that. And I said, can you come speak? I said, let me think about it. Yes. Yes. I didn't ask him what he would pay me. If you leave with money, you fail. The money will come. They'll recognize your value, and they'll pay you more than you intended on charging. So that's my story. I've stood in front of people most of my life. I wrote my first speech when I was 16 years old and spoke to a church, the First Baptist Church, and the title of the speech was Lonely. I had a friend that was suffering with loneliness, isolated, bullied. We call it bullied now. She was a girl. She went on to, Carrie Bayvine was her name. She went on to become the doctor at Johns Hopkins that discovered most of what we know as doing vascular surgery on twins. Ben Tarson knows her. And she was bullied nonstop. She was lonely. So I wrote a speech about her, lonely. And got up in the front of the room and did my 7-minute speech. That's where it all started. So if I said anything that struck a nerve with you, I hope I did. I hope you're asking questions right now. What can I do tomorrow that I didn't do today to make someone's life a little bit better and not get found out? My mom told me, do 2 nice things for people every day and don't get caught. I do that all the time. All the time. It's in my nature to do that. It is. It doesn't matter how people sometimes treat me, because I didn't do it for that. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Got it? Right thing to do. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. How many times you heard that, John? So if I can manage to, when I had my stroke, I couldn't talk. And my mom called me up and listening on the phone and said, baby, use your work. Use your work. Not somebody else's work. Use your work. I taught people to communicate all over the world. So I'm going to say this to you. NP, BHT, IU, PAM, IC, EPOMJ, WEYT, WYDMAF, PTMN. You know what that sounds? What's that stands for? You have no clue. No problem. NP. BHT. Be happy to. IU. I understand. PAM. Please allow me. IC. I'm confident. EPOMJ. Easiest part of my job. WEYT. Wouldn't expect you to. WIDMAF, would you do me a favor? And please tell me no if you're not pleased with what I have to offer you. There's 216,000 combinations of this 9 square grid. 216,000 combinations of that one piece of paper that I wrote. Used worldwide in sales, sold it to Ritz-Carlton. They use it at the front desk. I sold it for 4 Seasons. They use it too. If you ever go to Ritz-Carlton, you're Cummingized from the front desk till you check out. That's what you're hearing. And I discovered IP. You know what IP? What's that stand for? Intellectual property. So I own all my IP. All my IP. I realize if you ever read the ABC Companies by Jack Welch, I wrote that. So I just want you to know this is what I did. I love to teach. Somebody said heart. Steve said heart. Teaching is heart work, not hard work. Teaching is heart work. When you look in a person's eyes and you know they got it, and you can see they got it, there's no greater feeling than that. Knowing you made a little bit of a difference in somebody else's life. So, I have a recording when I tried to say my creed the first time. And it sounded like this. So I couldn't form the syllables. I couldn't form the words. I would look in the mirror and try to form. My son came in my garage, my big lake house out on the lake in Harrison that ultimately sold to the president of Volkswagen. He walked in, my son Ryan walked in the room and said, "Daddy, I know your gifts have been stolen. I know you want to talk so bad. I wish I could hear your voice." He had a book behind his back. He laid it on the table and said, "Daddy, You got to start somewhere. It was a pre-K kindergarten book. I wrote books for days. I couldn't write. Profound reader. 5,500 books in my library. Couldn't read. Talked for days. Never used. How you like my notes up there? Oh, I never spoke with a note in my life. Ever. Ever. Ever, by the way. And he laid it down. Said, you got to start somewhere. I opened that book. The first word in the book was one. So I stood in the front of the mirror day after. Finally I said, one. Progress. The second word was sock. Sock. Its words are really hard when you have aphasia. And I looked at that word, the image, one, the image of one, sock, the image of a sock, one sock. And finally, the middle of the night, I'm just trying my best in the mirror. I said, one sock. One sock. I called my mother up. She answered the phone. I said, one sock, one sock, one sock, one sock, one sock. Because I knew that I would double my vocabulary every day for the rest of my life. Since I had my stroke, I've added 35,000 words to my vocabulary. But you don't know, for me to talk and you're to talk is completely different thing. For me to talk, I have to think of the words in real time on the right side of the brain and navigate it to all this brain clutter called a stroke to the tip of my tongue in real time and hope the words I think about comes out in real time. So what you're listening to is a flat out miracle that I'm doing this right now. I promise you. If you interrupt me, it will all be gone. My work is used at Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Ochsner's, all over the world to teach people how to talk with aphasia. About that. And what did I charge for it? Free. Free. That's what I charged for it. So I wrote a creed when I was 21 years old. By the way, I can read now. I don't know if I can do it, because if I had to turn to the book, I'm going to turn it. I hereby promise to begin today to manifest the personal greatness I know lies within me. To improve the quality of my life, to learn more, laugh more, share more, and risk more. I control my personal destiny. If it is to be, it is up to me. I will hereby summon the courage to face my fears and turn them into the stepping stones of success. I will be the prisoner of nothing. I am someone special. I will live my life at level 10. By the way, I invented the level 10 concept in life, myopy. Level 10 every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. Written on April 14th, 21 years old, cashiers in the Highlands, under a waterfall. I wrote that creed. So I close my speeches. I'm going to read this because I can't get through it. Did you enjoy this speech? Yes or no? Okay, good. Just lie if you didn't. Okay. It was a hard thing to learn how to write, like to write, because typing on the phone just wears me out. So I'm not a poet at all. I'm not. But somebody asked me about 4.5 years ago, what was it like to go through a stroke? And I sat down and wrote this. Okay? It's called The Answer. I just had to wake up to make it through. I want to see you. I miss you. I love you. Am I awake? I feel like I am falling, almost home. Is this home? Follow the path. Step without caution. Trust, faith to take the next step. God, are you there? I found myself unable to speak. I'm screaming for help, but nothing comes out. Scream louder. The stillness grows. The silence is deafening. But in my mind, there is nothing but chaos. Wait, can you hear me? Let me out. Please let me out. A crescendo of sounds cascading through the pathways in my brain. Ambulances, machines, helicopters. I was in an air ambulance, by the way. What's that beep? It's growing faint, more distant. Is this prison? Is this hell? Let me out. Mom, are you there? Dad, are you there? Kids, are you there? God, are you there? Dialing, but no answer. Knocking, but no answer. Screaming, but no answer. Shouting, but no answer. Pleading, but no answer. I am so sad. Am I dying? Why can't I speak? Descending, sagging, sinking, slumping into a distant reality, and then confusion sets its course. Doubt fills my mind. Fear fills me up. Like a blood transfusion, my brain is in a state of shock. Silence transcends my every thought. I close my eyes. Let life leave you. It's okay. As I fall, I could hear my mom say, "Baby, hold on. Hang on. Hang on." Falling, falling, spinning, 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 tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. Rocks, waves, lightning. I reach, trying to hold on. I'm still falling. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you is in my every thought. And then I hear it. I hear it. So faint. And then it goes louder. A crashing sound. And then no sound at all. The final breath I took. And then God answers, I have plans for you. The answer. Have a good night. I hope you enjoyed coming up here. Come back more often. I've loved to see you, and thanks for giving me a little bit your time. And thank God I pulled it off. All right. Some news that's on something.